Hello everyone, this is Dr. Aditya Gupta. This is probably the most important video I'm going to make as far as a NEET PG aspirant is concerned. In the last video, I specifically talked about how to concise your notes, but it was not an in-depth video. It was more of a general plan on how to go about how many revisions you should try, how can you approach, an online app and everything. In this video, I actually wanted to address most of your doubts. It's going to be a long video, but trust me, stay till the end of the video. Most of your doubts will be clear, and even then, if they're not, please write in the comment section. If I think I can clear the doubt in a comment, I will do that. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to concise your notes using my favorite book, the best book in the world, First Aid. All right, probably after NCRT and Robin, the third most liked book that I have is First Aid. Whether you should use Dam's DVT because that's the season, that's how it's going to come up. Dam's DVT, Vibe by Bhatia. And third, the most famous resource that is BTR, Buri Tarah Ratto, right? How to use revision videos of Marrow or Rapid Revision by Prepladder. These are the two main platforms. And obviously other platforms, let's say you're using some other platform, they also have their set of revision videos. And how to incorporate previous year questions. Use Reflex for that matter of fact, right? Now, everyone knows that we have to concise our notes. You cannot revise, it's impossible to revise 10,000 pages of notes. 10,000 pages that's how much are there in Marrow. Even Prepladder has like 8,000 pages. And, any app, it's a lot of pages, right? You have to boil them to something which is important for which is important for last 7-day revision. I'm famous for this concept, that last 7-day revision part, because if you cannot revise, why is that last 7-day revision important? Because if you don't revise in last 7 days, easy factual questions which will comprise 30-40% of your paper, maybe even more, you'll miss out on them, and your rank is going to drastically take a drop. If you revise in the last 7 days, it's going to take a boost. Okay, so what is concise? Concise is basically condensed summary, that you have done the topic and you have concised it in such a way that most of the part of the topic is covered, but you are not spending 6 times effort or 6 times money, energy. Things which you were able to do in 1 year, you're going to do in 7 days. I'll take the example, my favorite example. These are Marrow notes. 6 pages of your notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what they're talking about amyloidosis. And how to use first aid? This is my favorite example. This is my own personal first. This is my first aid. Entire amyloidosis concised in just 1 page. Okay, just one. 6 pages become 1 page. Okay. Nothing. It's not like they have done extraordinary something. They have taken the most important points, things which are frequently tested in first aid. First aid is made by students, called Student to Student Guide, and put it in. Now, first aid is an US book, right? We make it Indian by adding Indian previous year question. So whatever extra things that were there, previous year questions, I solved after doing amyloidosis. I solved amyloidosis related previous year questions, basically immunity related previous year questions. Whatever amyloidosis related previous year question were there, I added them. Okay. So in India, they specifically ask about spleen, Sago and Ladatius. Two small points about that. They ask about where is it deposited, in joint synovium but not in bone. Maybe they ask one question related to that. Most common cause of death, most common is an Indian topic rather than a US topic. So most common cause of death, in primary it's cardiac and secondary it's renal. I added that. So that's it. If you actually look at it, only 3-4 extra points and done. This is what is the annotation of first aid is that we people keep on talking about. Use first aid annotated with the previous year questions. So how are you going to use it? This is my first aid. I wanted to show you that I have written notes, by solving previous year questions multiple times, you get to know that examiner is going to keep on asking this. I've written that AIIMS asks one question on antivirals every year. For me, it is volatile. So please revise it. So definitely revise it. I myself recognize my mistakes. So your preparation should be such that you should know that these are the things frequently asked. Mereko nahi aata. I don't remember this. I need to revise in last 7 days. And last but definitely not the least, I myself have written BTR. BTR was not something which was known outside of him. Let's be very clear. It's been made famous. First aid and BTR to a certain extent has been made famous by Zainab outside of AIIMS. These were sort of our inbound secrets. Buri Tarah Ratta or, first aid specifically was definitely an AIIMS, I would say a sort of semi-AIIMS guarded secret. That is a really good book for cracking PG entrance examination. And this is why, you have your first and second prof covered in the 600-700 pages. So how do you go about it right now? The simple thing is you go through your notes, You have your notes, right? Let's say you're doing pathology, let's say you're doing microbiology, let's say you're doing pharmacology. You go through your notes, you read the same topic in FA. 6 pages ko padne mein you took 6 minutes, not 6 minutes, but let's say 10-15 minutes. Read that thing in 1 or 2 minutes on first aid. Solve the previous year question, add the previous year question, and topic is done. You have your concise material ready for the next 2 revisions that you plan to do. The next 2 months should be focused on concising your notes, 1 month revision, and last final 10-day revision. That should be the plan, right? That now you have around 3.5 months left, around 100 odd days left. 94, 5, yes, approximately 100 days left. So I would say that 60 days now should be kept on one revision and ensuring that you have concised material in that 60 days. You have done your first read. I'm hoping you have done your first read. If you have not done, then try to complete the first read in the next 5 to 10 days or maximum 15 days. But complete it, and in 60 days time, you have to concise your material. The best resource for that for first and second prof, no doubt, I still will recommend first aid. Skim through your notes, like jaldi, like in front of you. Don't spend too much time. You have already done those notes. You have done your first read, right? Skim through your notes. First aid mein dekha, previous year question kiya, add kiya, done. For 60 days, 30 days you have to give to first and second prof, and 30 days for the rest of the subjects, right? And previous year question ke liye, you can use anything. You can use Marrow, you can prep, and obviously you can use Reflex. In fact, I would say that use of Reflex is good at this point. A lot of people tend to replace Marrow with Reflex. That was not the purpose of me creating Reflex also. The purpose of Reflex was actually to serve help in your revision. The reason the answers and the explanations are short in Reflex is just this, that at this point of time, you just need to brush up with the previous year question. You ideally in the first read should have done your previous year question and topics and the explanations properly. Now you just need to know that I have covered previous year question, and tuck, these small points I need to add and get done with it. Add to first aid and everything. Now, a lot of you will be like, sir, for just 3 months are there, should we do entire first aid? Even if you don't want to do entire first aid, that's perfectly fine. If you're aiming for May AIMS INI, then you should do entire first aid. If you're not, then I would say at least biochem, micro, psychiatry, immunity, you should do from first aid. I'll give a link in the description of these 3 topics of my first aid, but it's a very genuine recommendation. Use it just as a guidance. Like, okay, I had annotated first aid this way, so I now know 100% that I'm annotating my first aid in a proper way. Don't replicate it, like fully replicate it. You can replicate it, obviously you can if you feel like what there is great, but your first aid should be your first aid, right? And trust me, for these 4 subjects, this book is definitely going to help you a lot. And the path part of first aid, the systemic part of first aid, you can actually integrate medicine into it. Medicine is nothing but path plus pharma plus the management aspect, right? The guidelines and everything. So path and pharma is there. Just add the management aspect to it, and your medicine can also be done with the help of first aid. I personally did medicine from first aid itself. Nothing, no extraordinary resource. Even Dr. Thameem, who is in Bhatia, uses first aid, recommends first aid. All right. So this is how you can use my personal favorite resource, how to use first aid to concise your notes. Okay. Now the question will be how to concise your notes for the rest of the subjects. Like, ये तो मैंने खुद किया था. तो how do you do it for the big subjects? So rest of the things I would divide into big subjects and short subjects. Big subjects are your surgery, obs gynae, pediatrics, semi-big subjects I would say. Short subjects are your skin, anesthesia, radio, psychiatry, so on and so forth. What I will say is that in short subjects, the rapid revision notes, just the rapid revision notes plus do previous year question, the explanation of previous year question, add to that, that's it. They're actually sufficient. As far as the big subjects are concerned, they might be lacking. The rapid revision and the previous year question approach might be lacking. Because what happens in case of short subjects, they essentially cover most of the topics. But in case of big subjects, they're not covering most of the topics. They're skipping some topics. So you might miss out on something important because they're sort of skipping some topics. For obs gynae, I would actually recommend One Touch. Dr. Sakshi ma'am has done an amazing job as far as making this One Touch. And what she has done in One Touch, एक बार देख लो इस book को. Flowchart बना दिया. Flowchart बना दिया. Table बना दिया. Concising your notes is essentially making tables and flowcharts. Even first aid is this only. Table बना दिया. कहीं पे फ्लो चार्ट बना देंगे, कहीं पे टेबल बना देंगे. So what you have to do is do your previous whichever notes you have, do previous year questions concise using making tables and flowcharts. जहाँ तुम ये या तो either you can make your own efforts. This is what efforts is. This is what taking the time to make your own efforts is. मतलब you cannot directly. The reason I specifically recommended One Touch for obstetrics and gynecology is because this. ये मेरी ऑब्जाइनी की नोटबुक थी, इतनी पतली. That's it. It wasn't 1,000 pages. It wasn't 500 pages. I had made these notes from Sakshi Arora ma'am's book only. That book is as good as Maro notes. Okay. But उसी को मैंने पढ़ा, खुद previous year question solve किए, and फिर मैंने क्या किया, मैंने भी tables बना दिए, मैंने भी flowcharts बना दिए. तुम्हें भी यही करना पड़ेगा. Either you can use One Touch, जिनमें One Touch नहीं है, read the subject, do previous year questions, understand that these are the important topics, make them flowcharts. The examiners tend to ask things which are, which are sort of differences. Tables are important because they keep on asking small differences. इसमें ये होगा, इसमें ये होगा. I'll give you an example. For example, in dermatology, as far as pemphigus vulgaris is concerned, most of the questions are just whether this is pemphigus vulgaris or whether this is bullous pemphigoid. Pemphigus vulgaris has a acantholytic blister. उसमें desmoglein के against antibodies होती हैं, while bullous pemphigoid has antibodies against hemidesmosomes. Okay, pemphigus vulgaris has flaccid, it has flaccid blisters. So this is I'm taking example of reflex, but you can, this is a table in reflex, like so. But what I'm basically trying to emphasize is that you should ideally make your own tables like this. Use maybe pearls for this. But the goal is somehow these 7,000, 8,000 pages should boil down to 2,000 pages that are revisable in the last 10 days. If you're able to achieve that and revise in the last 10 days, I can bet my money on it. Nothing can stop you from getting a top 2,000 rank. Nothing. Obviously मैं ये नहीं बताऊंगा top 100 आ जाएगी. Top 100 थोड़ा लक होता है, थोड़ा MBBS में कितनी पढ़ाई की होती है, that plays into fact. That's also a factor. But top 1,000 is definitely possible. No doubt about that. Irrespective of whatever you have done your MBBS, doesn't matter. I hope you understood how you are going to go about it. For the first and second prof, this is the best. This is the best resource. You don't want to use first aid, fine. Don't use first aid. Either make your own notes, use revision videos or whatever it is. But flowcharts के form में लेकर आ जाओ. Flowcharts and table. For final prof, obs-gynae के लिए you have really good book by Dr. Sakshi, it's herself. मैंने खुद अपने notes बनाए थे. It exactly same है. देख लो. उतना ही है. मैम ने तुम्हारे लिए मेहनत कर दी है. मतलब sort of, she has made sort of things easier for you. Skim through your notes, see first aid, add in previous year question. Your concise part is ready. Okay. If first aid पूरी नहीं कर सकते, Biochem micropsychiatry you have to do. I'll give the link in the description. I have certain other, Divya made really good concise notes of path, medicine, physio. ये तुम actually में use भी कर सकते हो. They are also there in Reflex also. They are also there in Reflex if you're using Reflex. Okay. So you can use that. Obs-gynae also, by the way. Yeah. Now coming to other part. DAMS DVT या vibe करना है नहीं करना. Now DAMS DVT and vibe and BTR I would say are equivalent. It's not that they are certain बहुत extraordinary difference है. BTR is made by Zenab with first aid as a base. She uses first aid as a base and obviously final prof के लिए she will use something else as a base. DAMS DVT and vibe DAMS is using its own notes as a base and everything. So both are actually good. If you are like, sir, ideal source would be you make your own notes. If you cannot do that, if you need help, then obviously at this point of time, maybe 100, 150 hours of BTR, attending 4-5 days of DAMS DVT is a good one. Now, a lot of you will ask, sir, if we just use BTR because वो last 7 day का material है, then why can't we get a top 1,000 rank? Even if you ask Zainab, she also says that BTR cannot be a standalone resource. It's a revision resource. I'll tell you the reason why. Now, when you're concising your own notes, अगर तुम अपने own notes को concise करते हो, so you don't skip any topic because notes have covered everything. Okay, you don't skip a topic. You understand that this topic has some less importance. You just write maybe one line about that topic. In other, it's more important. You maybe even write everything for that matter or put every, make it in a tabular format or a flowchart format. What happens in DVT? DVT is deep visual treat, right? Visual. So a lot of the questions and a lot of things that are going to teach you are basically what are image based. There's certain things which will not be image based, right? They cannot be image based. So if those things are not covered, so some topics are basically skipped as far as DVT or BTR is concerned. Now, if question comes from that, then obviously you will have some trouble in that. Concising your own notes, you're not skipping anything. You're essentially trimming down on your understanding, your practice of previous year question, it's your own effort. Is obviously going to be better rather than someone else's effort. So that is the reason why if someone says that I'm just doing BTR plus previous year question, I would say your rank is going to be around 2000 to 3000 if you do it properly. Obviously, if you do not do it properly, वो भी नहीं आने वाली. But if you're concising your own notes and you are able to achieve that, then top 1000 rank pakka hai. Okay. Other thing I would say, अगर specifically someone wants ki DAMS versus like DVT versus BTR, then I would say that if you can, if you're already a DAM student and definitely in DVT, don't go for BTR. Don't be in FOMO of BTR then. If you're someone who's not really a visual person who likes the way Zainab teaches, some free videos are there, you can easily see how she teaches, then I would say then go for BTR. BTR is sort of evergreen. But I would consider them to be now sort of a similar only. Now, most important thing, how do we go about previous year questions? I personally hope you have already done previous year questions. Like your preparation should have previous year question being done from day one. There's no doubt about that. You can always do retrograde, frankly. But as far as previous year question part is concerned, every day try to solve 50 to 100 previous year questions. I would recommend Reflex. I hope if you go to Reflex now, if you see the reviews, most of the people who are even saying that it's the explanations are short and everything, or most of them who are praising it also. See, the name itself is Reflex. It was made to be a revision resource. It was not made to replace Marrow Plan B or Plan A or something like that. Let me be very clear about that. If you have done your first reading, Reflex is an excellent resource. If you have not done your first reading, even I would not recommend Reflex. If you've done your first reading, you can solve previous year question at a fast speed. If you've not done your previous year question, then obviously you'll feel like explanations are missing, or the explanations are short, the topic has not been explained in details. Someone who wants to concise his notes, he just wants to go through the previous year question and see that he's not missing out on some important previous year question. That's why Reflex comes into the picture. If you don't want to use Reflex, whichever app you have, you already have. The distinct advantage of Reflex was it was 10 years, sort of a broader spectrum, so that you're not missing on anything, and it was given topic wise. That is, and obviously it's cheap also, 600 rupees after all. Right. So that is about Reflex, that is about previous year question, that is about how to concise your notes. I'll give a proper summary again for those who do not understand. For first and second prof, my recommendation, first aid, read your notes, read first aid, solve previous year question, add to first aid, and done. For third and fourth prof, one touch, obs gynae definitely, I think surgery ki bhi aati hai. This is good. Obviously solve previous year question with that. And for short subjects, rapid revision plus previous year question suffices. Ideally, you should make your own concise notes. Okay. DAMS DVT versus BTR. Sort of evergreen, I would go for BTR. DAMS DVT is more visual. तो image based ज़्यादा हो जाता है कभी कभी. But if you have been a DAM student, then definitely attend करना. If you not have been a DAM student, you like the way DAMS teaches, some के sample videos कहीं ना कहीं तुम्हें मिल जाएंगे, then obviously DAMS attend कर लेना. You don't like the way Zainab teaches, there are some people who don't like how Zainab teaches, then obviously it doesn't make any sense कि you get into the FOMO of doing BTR. And yeah, that's it. There will be certain links for concise notes, how to make concise notes, my own concise notes for certain subjects, various concise notes, you can check them out. And that's it from, last one thing I wanted to